Good day, good day. Welcome to Canute Exploration, your topic in a podcast. Happy Easter. And if you don't celebrate Easter, happy Sunday. Well, if you don't celebrate Sunday, happy life. I'm sure you celebrate life. You're watching Canute Exploration. And if you are on your favorite podcast platform, you'll be listening to Canute Exploration. I'm Canute White. Greetings also to those persons listening to us from outside of the United States. Data is showing that we have listeners from UK, Jamaica naturally, Brazil, Switzerland, Canada, France, Germany, Spain, Ukraine, Ireland, Guyana. Keep listening. We appreciate you. We have two guests today on our show. Antoinette Green, Joseph Aaron. They are persons within the education system in Jamaica. And as we look at homeschooling during and after the COVID, we would like you to tune in and learn something because they have a wealth of knowledge as parents and as persons in the education system. Today I was listening to CNN. That's GPS and CNN. And it surprises me to learn that over 3 million students in the United States have been missing from the school system for a little over a year. Can you imagine that? Not on the virtual system, not in the traditional school system. So they are missing from the school system altogether. What are the possible long-term negative impact of all of this homeschooling thing? For me, I'd want to think that unqualified and unskilled workforce, that's what we will see post-COVID, maybe a few years down the road. Rising illiteracy, a rising poverty because of possible increase in global unemployment rate, rising crime globally, and increased need for prison spaces. That might sound away, but we can look at that also as a possibility. Today, we realize that many children worldwide continue to be homeschooled during the pandemic. Many parents are becoming frustrated. It is undoubtedly frustrating for many parents around the world. Canute Exploration will explore this today with our guest, right? We'll hear what a trained teacher had to say about the homeschooling her child and how fathers are involved in the homeschooling system. We'll also look at what the principals and the teachers in Jamaica and in Canada are experiencing as it relates to the homeschooling process. We'd like to tell you that we endorse Bluehost. You can click, if you're watching from YouTube, on the link below and let Bluehost provide your internet service. So let us welcome our guest. We have Antoinette Green with us from Canada. She's a Jamaican and she will tell you more about herself. And we also have Joseph Aaron with us. He will also tell you about himself. He's a Jamaican. He's living in Jamaica. He's in Kingston, Jamaica. Welcome, Antoinette and Joseph, to Canute's Exploration, your topic in a podcast. I am Canute White. Antoinette, how are you doing?
Hi, Mr. White. I'm doing well. How are you?
Nice to hear you. I'm doing good. Joseph, how are you doing, man?
Hi. I'm good. Kind of
All right.
very glad
Out
to be
there.
here. Very glad to be here.
Yeah, man, in Kingston, Jamaica.
Yes, man. Kingston, Jamaica.
What I want you guys to do for me though is to just tell me a little bit about your professional self, right? Starting with the lady. We say in Jamaica, and I assume around the world, ladies before gentlemen. Right? Go ahead, Antoinette.
Hi, good afternoon to your viewing audience on the different platforms and to Mr. Joseph. Good afternoon to you all. Let me use this opportunity to say happy Easter Sunday to you all, those of us who celebrate Easter. And for those who don't, let me use the opportunity to say happy Sunday. And as Mr. White said, happy life in this unprecedented time. We're still here. So there's much to give thanks for. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Antoinette. I have been a teacher for approximately 21 years. Yes. I was educated at the Shorter Teachers College and went on to the University of Technology to complete my Bachelor's of Education degree. And then I went on to the MICO to complete a Master's in Education. I have taught in Jamaica for approximately 12 years. I am proud to say I taught in the inner city community, downtown Kingston, for 12 solid years, where I educated students from those communities that we considered volatile communities. And I'm proud to say I have had students who have gone on to various occupations, whatever you can think of. I have students who have gone on to those occupations. So big up to the massive downtown Kingston, right? And I immigrated to Canada in 2011. And I'm happy to say I joined the teaching profession approximately 2017. I gained my license, my teaching license shortly after I came here. And then I started teaching about 5 years ago. I joined one of the largest school board in the province of Ontario, where I am. I'm not yet considered a permanent teacher, but I'm getting there.
Cool,
Yes.
Antoinette. Great. Teacher from Canada. I taught in Jamaica. Joseph, what
Yes.
about your personal self? Tell us about your professional self. Sorry, your professional self.
My professional self.
Yeah, not your personal self.
Not personal. Well, my
All right,
professional
all
self.
right. Professional self.
Good afternoon, Antoinette. Thank you. And Canute, always a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
So my professional self. Wow. I'm a professional father. I can start right here.
Well done.
And a professional husband.
Yeah.
Right. But at another level of professionality, I should say. I'm currently the safety and security coordinator with the Ministry of Education in Jamaica. I'm a former dean of discipline at Taylor High School and a former guidance counselor, Spanish teacher of business basics and physical education. So I've been in the education for quite some time. So yeah, that is a wrap up of my professional self.
All right. I hear you. Well, professional. Okay, guys. What I want you to do. I know you're also here in the capacity of a parent. Parents, right? Even though you have worked in the for Antoinette, she's a teacher. You, Joseph, you are a dean of discipline. You're still in the education system in Jamaica, but your parents. Tell us about your child, Antoinette, and then I move to Joseph to tell us a bit about his children who are actually involved in the homeschool situation.
I have a 12-year-old son who is a grade 7 student, so he's in middle school. Personally he doesn't want to be learning from home. He wants to be out there in the school. He wants to be in the brick and mortar. And presently we're out there now. We are there in the brick and mortar. So he is happy. When we were told that we were going to go back out to school, like, he was like, yay! Because for him the social piece is a big thing. So he wants to be out there, and being considered an only child too, like how much there's certain things that he doesn't want to talk to us about, so or to do with us, so he prefers to be out there with his friend than to be learning from home.
Yeah. Joseph.
Yes.
Let me hear you, man. Tell me about your children who are actually doing homeschooling.
We have 3 girls.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's
Go ahead.
one of the girls.
Yeah, introducing herself.
Oh yes. That's actually the youngest girl, and that's another one of the girls right there.
Aye.
So we have 3 girls, 5, 6, and 13. The 5-year-old is in basic school, kindergarten, about to leave kindergarten, the primary school. 6-year-old is in primary school.
We're losing your volume.
Losing my volume.
All right. Yeah.
All right, turn this up. Any better?
Yeah, better. You're better now.
Okay, so the 13-year-old, she is currently in grade 8, and I guess they're doing well, considering.
Yeah.
There are certain different levels of frustration. They have 3 different personalities.
Yeah, that is expected.
So the 2 younger ones would have adjusted easier. They're kicking and screaming, mind you, particularly the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
She needs hands-on. She's very hands-on.
Yeah.
Her learning. The middle one, she is regardless of where you place her, whether it's online or face-to-face, she is a good student. She will sit still and do what she's supposed to do. Very disciplined. 5-year-old is very different. She is, as I said, you have to be in her skin, right behind her,
to get things done.
Yes, to get things done.
That.
Exactly.
I suspect Antoinette have the same sort of a challenge.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but and in the 13-year-old in high school, because her first year experience in high school, typical high school life, no problem, she would have missed her friends, and she's a social butterfly, and so the social side of it is where she's probably hurting. She doesn't like online classes, online school. She really wants to go to school. So that is pretty much that for them.
Okay.
They miss on the outside of school. They miss simply just going out and being the average child, just running up and down and doing what they want to do, without any serious levels of hindrances. It's what it is.
We're losing your volume though a bit, Joseph. Right? Can work on that as well. Right? You're listening to Canute Exploration.
It works any better? Better now?
It's better now, Joseph. It's better. Right? You're topic in a podcast, Canute Exploration, and we're looking at the homeschooling situation during COVID-19 and after COVID-19. What we want to look at now, Joseph, I continued you for a while, because this whole thing about policy, homeschool policy in Jamaica. I will go to Antoinette as it relates to the Canadian aspect of things, right? But in Jamaica, what are the policy for homeschooling in Jamaica?
All right, so I guess there would have been several. The main thing though is right now it's full lockdown. There's no face-to-face at all right across the island, right? So everything is online right now. Online is the first option, but there are some schools, particularly the schools in the rural areas, or particularly schools that has low connectivity or a high number of parents/students who don't have the adequate devices or don't have the adequate data to go online and access online classes. So what some schools do, they have a system where you pick up work. They have a learning kit. You pick that up from the school, or some schools actually have persons who deliver it to particular points, whether it's in certain communities or whatnot, and that works for the school. Of course, it varies according to the school, but this is island wide, so it really varies. Some schools have high level of connectivity and they don't need that. Other schools have very low level of connectivity, and the deliver is critical, particularly where you have somebody who can actually deliver. Other schools, they're facing serious challenges because not everybody wants to drive around to a community and deliver in light of this pandemic. And so that is really on a voluntary basis, right? And because the persons who are designated traveling officers are the ones who are supposed to do it, although it's not within the job description. Some do it, some don't. And so the within schools who have high level of connectivity, they don't have a problem. But other schools with low level of connectivity now, and they have the policy or the choice of going to the schools to deliver, to pick up rather.
Yeah.
Not all students want to do that. Not all parents want to do that. So we're having a major issue with that, where students are simply not getting access to learning modules.
Wow.
And so that is causing an issue.
Tell you. Antoinette, you heard that, right? I know you're not in the ministry there, but what's your take? What's going on as it relates to homeschool policy?
I do live in the province of Ontario, and I will tell you what the Ontario homeschooling policy is. But before I go there, I don't think what is happening right now because of COVID is homeschooling. Okay. I think it is students learning from home because I'm trying to find another.
I agree with you.
Another name for it, or it's something blended. It's something blended. Either students are learning from home or some blending, because homeschooling is where the curriculum is solely delivered by the parents, or if the parents who are working but don't want their kids to go into the brick and mortar, don't want to go into the schools. Parents, you have parents who are able to afford it to hire caregivers or teachers, trained teachers, to come into their homes and teach their children. But what is happening now, it's not homeschooling. I wouldn't call it homeschooling. I would say the children are learning from home because the curriculum is still being delivered by teachers. So in Ontario, the homeschooling policy, there's a policy for homeschooling, and there are many parents who have decided to homeschool their child or children. I even considered it when I first came to Canada. And if your child has never been in school, then you don't have to inform the government of your intent with your child in any way or form. But if your child has been in school and you decided that you don't like what is happening, or you just feel it is better for your kid to be home or learning being schooled at home, then in that case you have to inform the school board in the school board community where you live. You have to inform the school board of your intent, that you're pulling your child from school, and what your intentions are. You're expected to do that because you don't want your child, because once your child is on the system, your child is on the system. Yeah. So if your child is being absent out of the system for a while, then your child is going to be considered truant, and then the different authorities are going to be calling you as a parent and finding out what is happening. So in that case, if your child has been in school, then it is in your best interest, if you're pulling your child out to be homeschooled, to inform the school board of your intent. However, if from the day your child was born, you decided that I am not going to be sending my child to school, I'm going to be homeschooling my child, then you don't have to inform the government of your intent, unless you want to access resources, the government resources, or in the case of, for example, you want your child to sit all the standardized tests, right? Because sometimes you have parents who homeschool their children for the earlier years, for example, up to the grade 8 years, the entire elementary years. But when they get to grade 9, they want them to be in the school system. So in that case, then if you want your child to sit all the standardized tests, then you could inform the government of your intent so that you are supported in that case. Yeah, so the policy is if you're it's up to you. If you once your child is in school, you inform them that you're pulling them out. If your child has never been in school, you don't have to.
This is not on my agenda, but look, Joseph, is there any comparison there? Is there any comparison between
there is,
There is.
There
okay,
is. I would agree with Antoinette in terms of the definition of homeschool. And so what is happening now is I mean, homeschooling where it was happening before in Jamaica, the pandemic wouldn't have affected homeschooling, right? For the most part anyway. But the at-home school policy during the pandemic now, let me put that in, right? Specifically as it relates to the pandemic, is in the event that there is face-to-face, there are face-to-face classes. The at-home school policy states that the child or the household that has an individual with underlying conditions, for example, cancer, sickle cell, anything at all, right? Any terminal illness, then it is the the responsibility of the parent or guardian to inform the school/government that this is the situation with the child, and therefore we are keeping the child at home, and we're going to be engaging in at-home schooling, different from homeschooling, because at home schooling, you still access the school's curriculum, right? And you pretty much try and do whatever it is that the school is doing. So whatever exams they have, you follow their timetable as well. And you access their classes online. Because most schools now, they're streaming online all their classes. Before there was a full lockdown, when they had classes going on, a grade 6 class, for example, they hosted 20 students while also streaming online to 20 other students at home, right? And that was what was taking place with some schools, and that was working for a while until this latest full lockdown.
Right.
But the similarities are there, you know.
Yeah. I know the different connotation I want to think of homeschooling. That's fine. I am not going to give my 2 cents on that.
Okay, I had to make the differentiation, right? And we had to.
That's cool, guys, right? And I'm sure our listeners and watchers, audience, basically understand the differences. Right, this is Canute Exploration. I'm Canute White, and I'm sitting in with Antoinette and Joseph. Joseph from Jamaica. Antoinette is a Jamaican in Canada, living in Canada, and we're looking at homeschooling during and after the pandemic. Antoinette, your challenges, right, as it relates to homeschooling your child. What are the challenges that you're facing homeschooling your child, even as a teacher?
I'm going to answer your question, but just to back up a bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to add to the last question.
Okay.
Well, what I think will happen after this, though, after COVID, I think that there are many parents who will choose to homeschool their children. I'm thinking that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that later on, too. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So my challenges as a parent. Okay, so I am, for me personally, as a parent who is a teacher, I had to let my students, I had to inform my students that I have a school age child, because sometimes on the virtual platform, I'm dashing away from in front of the camera to assist him or to observe him, to make sure that, you know, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. So that it's a challenge for me, because I am teaching my students, and I'm moving away from my class to assist my child. So working from home, you're doing your job and you're monitoring your child at the same time. So you're wearing two hats, or you're wearing a number of hats at that time. So I find that as my biggest challenge as a parent. And I could speak for many parents as well, because I have spoken to a number of parents, and they share the same sentiments.
Yeah.
Those of parents who are still working, because too, I have realized that there are a number of women who have now either decided to, well, unfortunately, some have gotten laid off, so they get the opportunity to be home. They are forced with the opportunity to be home with their children. There are some who, because of concern for their family, have decided to stay home, while sometimes the men decided to still take the risk and be out there in the work field. So the men are out there in the work field. The women are either laid off, or they decided to take whatever leave they can, long leave, whatever, stay home with the children in order to make sure that the children are doing what they're doing. Because at this time, it is hard to access childcare. So there are parents who might have a number of 1, 2, 3, 4 kids. Some are not at school age. And so when those parents were out before pre-COVID, they were out working.
Yeah.
So then those kids, the kids who are not school age, would have been out there in childcare. But now, who really wants their child to be in childcare?
That's the thing.
Right, you're more concerned for your safety, and you weigh the pros and the cons. You look at the money and you look at the safety of your family, right?
Yeah.
So some have decided to stay home, and so even with that, a parent with 3-4 kids monitoring 3-4 kids online, because if you have 3-4 kids in school, then they are at different levels, and for you to be monitoring all of them at the same time, it's a challenge. And you're looking after the household, and you're looking after the household in all different aspects. Those kids you're feeding them, you're looking after them, you're making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Sometimes.
Hey, you had said something interesting though.
Yeah.
You are a parent. You have your child who is actually in homeschooling, right? Homeschool. And
who's learning
you are also, I would say, homeschooling other children, right? And that's challenging as a teacher, parent, doing your work as a teacher online and have to be homeschooling your child.
Yes. But unfortunately, my child is a bit older than some children. Like, thinking of a 5-year-old, maybe like Joseph's daughter. Like my friend has a 5-year-old daughter. So he was giving me a joke the other day. He said he has to constantly sit beside his daughter for her to sit in front of the device. And he says the minute he gets up, like, she will get up. So he said one day he said to her, "You have to sit. You're in school. You can't be getting up for regular." He said she'll get up to show her doll to her classmates and her teacher, various things. So he said to her, "You can't get up so often. You're in class." She says, "No, I'm not in class. I'm in my house."
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
That's another challenge too. To get the children in the mindset that they are in school, they're in their home, right?
After a year, we cannot get that right. They don't know that after 1 year.
Well, guess what? Some of them they get so comfortable right? They're in their homes. You can't instruct them what to do. And like for some of us who have had our children home, then went back to school, then home again, then school. It's kind of back and forth, back and forth. So they have this schedule, because when you're home, when you're going into the brick and mortar, right? School begins at 8:30. You're up from there. Those kids are up from maybe 7 o'clock, have breakfast, get ready, go out to school. When you're home, when you're learning from home, school begins 8:30. You could sleep till 8 o'clock. Right? And you could get up and just dash in front of your device. Maybe sometime in between you grab something to eat. So it's two different schedules, right? So the kids get confused. They get comfortable in the home, in the learning from home, because I could sleep whatever time. I could get up and just dash in front of my device. I don't have to get dressed. While going to school, I have to get up. I have to follow this routine. So I will say after a year, yes, it's still challenging for them to know it. Like look in Jamaica a few weeks ago, we had students who were in the brick and mortar. They were out in the classroom, and then in another few weeks they were back home. That's like and it's not a lot. It's on a whole, schedule can be a challenge for some kids. So you can imagine with the back and forth, the schedule being back and forth, it's challenging. It's challenging.
And that's where I want to go to Joseph for a while. Joseph, are you there? Joseph.
Yes. I am here.
Right.
I am
You're a father. Right?
Go ahead.
Joseph, Antoinette said something about, she mentioned something about in Jamaica. Because you know, we here, I'm in the United States, Antoinette is in Canada. We are in tune with Jamaica because our place that, right? So what happened is that she said something about Jamaican students going back into the classroom and had to go back home. Tell us about that, and then tell us about the challenges that that you are having as a parent doing homeschooling.
All right. So there were some students who did have to go into the classroom and then go back home. Those students were pretty much the students who were going to be involved in exit exams, final year students. So final year at the primary level and final year at the high school, the secondary level. And final year at the secondary level, as you would know, is both fifth form and sixth form. And that caused some problem. There's still some amount of anxiety, particularly, well, especially for all those levels. You know, as you know, PEP is coming up, leaving the primary school level to the high school. And it was postponed. So it is now postponed to May, end of May. It was supposed to be March. It was postponed before March as well. So there is a lot of anxiety there. The level of connectivity at the grade 6 level varies across schools, and as you would know our Jamaican system, the prep school, the private school system compared to the public school system is a massive difference in terms of how many students are accessing online classes. And so it is affecting more the public school system, and not all primary schools are being affected. As some primary schools, the involvement or the connectivity is as low as 30%. And 30% would be cutting it, would be good. And so you're talking about over 70% of our students are not accessing online classes, and these students are expected to sit exit exams come May. And the same would apply, pretty much the same would apply for the CXC students, the fifth formers and the sixth formers who are doing those exit exams. And so there's a high level of anxiety, and particularly with the upper school students now, the SBA, the school-based assessment. If you haven't done the school-based assessment, it really doesn't make any sense to do the exam because you need that to pass. And so students have been having a massive difficulty in getting the SBAs done, because that is hands-on, that is at school, and so getting it done at home and then carrying it to school, having the teachers look at it and give feedback, and so that
That's gonna be a
that
challenge.
cycle is seriously affected, and many students are very anxious. Those students who have major challenges,
Right.
they're having a warm time. You know, those students who need more help and more guidance,
Yeah.
and work less and not as comfortable working on their own, they're having it worse. But there are students on the positive side, there are students who have admitted that one of the good things about this pandemic is that they are forced to work on their own, and they
Yeah.
have become more independent in their learning.
Yeah.
We found that when we had the first reopening, we went around and asked students how they feel. Coming back, I realized that, boy, my education is in my hands, so I have to take charge. You know, that was
Hey,
quite warm.
Joseph,
That, you know?
I
Yeah.
want you to move now for me and the challenges you have as a parent homeschool. I know you have the support, but
It is, yes, the support is there. My wife and I, the balance is balancing home and work, school and work. We're both way behind in what we're supposed to do, whatever reports we're supposed to submit. My wife is a lecturer, and she has classes to teach and prepare for, and papers to mark, and things to submit, and all that. And it's a constant challenge to keep up to date with reports. Particularly for me, I know I am behind. My director has been very, very patient, very understanding. So that is a challenge, because, as you know, we work, which is a regular work hours, but that's when school is on. And of course, outside of schooling, at home there is breakfast, lunch, dinner, running the household, that kind of thing. So creating that balance, and so doing the homework, those kind of things. So it's a matter of balancing and managing everything. And so it does have its difficulties, but at the same time, being more involved and more integral in their learning, for me, is a plus, and is a challenge that I welcome.
We realize that can be. I want to actually show you guys something here.
My two main challenges are the tactics that some of the teachers are using now. They don't really provide clarities for me. But
The clarity. That parent is saying that the practice that is being used, the parent is not clear on what's going on. So that's one of the key challenges for parents. Antoinette, you might not have this challenge, right? Because you understand the practice and so on as a teacher. Joseph, you might have the challenge that parent just outlined. Antoinette, are you having a challenge as it relates to the clarity of the procedure, the practice?
No, I am not having a challenge, but I did have that. I did wanted to add that, speaking on other parents' behalf, that parents not being able to keep up with the curriculum being delivered, it's foreign to some parents. And so what some parents will tell you, some parents will say, I'm not able to help my child. I have spoken to some friends of mine who are teachers, and they will tell you that after dismissing their class 3:30, and even for myself too, I will find that as a teacher, after dismissing your class, you're online with students, explaining concepts, because parents will ask diligently, and without even parents asking, you will recognize. So you give off your best in that area. So with some parents, the curriculum are foreign to some parents, and so you find, as a parent, when teaching online, I don't think my day ends. So from the parent perspective, my day doesn't end. It ends way in the night. If when I'm in the brick and mortar, my day ends, I tidy up my desk, I leave school, and I come home, and I oversee my son homework. but you're jumping from in front when you're learning, when you're teaching online, you're jumping from in front of the device and you're with your students, and then you're still in front of the device, looking at your child's what he has to complete, and then you're helping him. So as Joseph said, you're falling behind. So in terms of me not falling behind, I'm finding that I jump from in front of the computer with my class, and then I probably will take a little break and I will say to my son, come with your device, get onto your virtual platform. Let me see what you have to do. Let me see the homework. And then when I'm finished with him now, I am on again to set up work for my students for tomorrow. And teaching online, the marking is a big thing, because when you're out there in the brick and mortar, you are looking at the students' work. You're able to, go around to students and look at their work one-to-one. When you're teaching online and sitting in front teaching live online, synchronous, and then when you have to go back and sit to mark those work, it's a challenge. It takes time, and people will say, "Oh, teaching online, it's no easy task." So being from a parent perspective, with I can feel it for that parent, and I can do understand, but from a teacher perspective, I'm able to understand the concepts and to help my child. But there are some parents who are not being able to do that. But what I would say, what I would encourage is that if teachers are able to do so, send the videos, YouTube videos, which give step-by-step instructions on in a particular concept. Send YouTube videos. Look at the different learning platforms. There are so many that could give step-by-step instructions on how a concept is can be completed. Because
I want you to hold that for the advice, because I am going to ask for some advice to parents and the teachers. So hold that for the advice. Okay. But what are the government doing to address these challenges, some of these challenges? Hold on, Antoinette. Let me say, Joseph, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Come on, I know you're in and out. That's all right. What are the government what the government doing to address some of these challenges, though?
All right. So the government is really trying a lot of things. So they are providing tablets they have provided tablets to several schools. Understand that this is that the government that is strapped for cash has had to abandon some programs in order to fund other programs. So they providing tablets, providing data plans for some students, for some schools, and also for teachers. That has been done. That's an ongoing process. Those students who are I guess on an assistance program path, those are they continue to be fed. They continue to get a stipend or some kind of and they also get food, and they continue to get that as if they were in school. So additionally, now the students, as I said, they get tablet. They're continually fed, and the tablet program is ongoing, right? So the government has invested in that, and also finding private entities to fund or to provide tablets as well. Additionally, now classes are being taught via TV. So TVJ and CVM, GIS. There are also other stations where they do have teachers who provide lessons, who teach live, whether live or recorded, and they send out timetables right throughout the day at the varying levels, from primary to the secondary level. And getting schools assistance in preparing for the pandemic has also been a massive other strategy of the government to try and assess schools or help schools to prepare for the pandemic and treating with the pandemic.
That's interesting, though. Antoinette, the Canadian government, what is the Canadian government doing to to alleviate or address some of these challenges?
Well, I must say that we are at a place where we have been more blessed. We have been a little more blessed than some areas in Jamaica. And Joseph, I just want to congratulate the government and those entities who have reached out. I have been following different social media platforms, and I read the news every day, and I see where individuals and groups and different entities have gone out to provide devices for students, to provide technology for students in order for students not to be left out or to fall through the cracks. And I just want to use this opportunity, use this medium to commend the government and those groups and those individuals and those entities. Way to go, as education is the key. Education is the way out of whatever we are experiencing. Those of us who have experienced poverty, and some of us can speak to that. We know that education is what it's our vehicle, right? So education is what allowed us to get out of some of those systems. And so those entities who are providing, way to go. So we are a little more blessed here. Okay. in terms of that, because in some areas and in some schools, you have in the classroom itself where every child has a technology, a device is assigned to a student. So to go online, to be learning online, it is not difficult. Or in the first half, when it just started, there are a lot of hiccups, and to go and to be assigning, there's student numbers assigned to each student.
Okay, yeah. And
so when you're allowing devices to go out, you have to do it by student number. And then it was a little more difficult in the first, where if you have 3 children in the household, maybe you only have 1 device for that child, for those children, and that was a challenge. But moving further now, and the government has provided way more devices, so you will have 3 students in a household, maybe from at the same school or depending on their age group, and you will have 3 devices going out for all those 3 children, and that is commendable. So you have a device to a student, assigned to a student. If we hear that we're going to be going in a lockdown, the student is allowed to go home with the device, and that is very good. But other than providing, and there are also students who don't have access to internet. The government has provided internet access for those students. So if there are students who are not on the virtual platform, it is not because of technology, I would say. Maybe it's because of maybe parents' schedule and all of that. But the government has provided technology, and not only that, the government provides funding for children on a monthly basis. Parents do receive funding for their children on a monthly basis, and since the pandemic, the government has provided more funding where parents get a specific amount of money at a particular time, and this money can also, if you choose, you can purchase. It is provided to parents. It is particularly provided to parents to access, to use to purchase school material for their children to be
and listeners, we're talking about the Canadian government now. I don't want you to get this confused. Antoinette is in Canada. She's a Jamaican, though she lives in Canada. That's where she's involved in the school system. Joseph is in Jamaica, naturally a Jamaican. Well, I'm in the United States. This is Canute's Exploration. I'm Canute White, coming to you from Miramar, Florida. But Joseph.
Yes. Joseph, yes.
Yeah, I got you. Let us talk about the benefits of homeschooling. And I want to look at the father's involvement as well, but let us look at the benefits first of homeschooling.
Parental involvement. That for me is the number one. Parental involvement. I've always felt that if we want our education system, or as a country, as a nation, if we want our nation to improve, it really boils down to our parenting. And for me, the number one advantage of homeschooling, of this lockdown, is that students are now being more, parents have to be more involved with their students, with their children.
Yeah.
With their, sitting them lap and make sure that they actually learn. I've had to do that with my daughter, because if I leave her alone, she ain't doing nothing, right? So she sits in my lap or I sit beside her, and she's more involved. So I like that. I really appreciate that. However, that for me is number one. The other advantage is that it's for some parents, I should say,
yeah,
it is more cost effective, because some schools would have had to, I guess, cut their costs, cut their fees. Some schools, that is not all, but at the same time, while I would have backtrack a little bit, although I would have said parental involvement is critical, at the same time, not all parents are capable. I mean, my household right now, two-parent household, both parents are well educated.
Yeah.
That is not the norm in Jamaica, right? Yeah. And so both where the nuclear setup is concerned and where the academic setup is concerned, we're pretty much not the norm. And so I have to emphasize that point, because there are some families that, for some children, being at home constantly with their parent is a no-no as far as they're concerned, because we have also gotten reports that there's an increase in child abuse at home, because the parents have been laid off, the economy is being affected even more, So, but I don't want to stray on that, because you had said the benefits of homeschooling.
Yeah.
Right. So apart from parental involvement, as I would have mentioned earlier, is that students are being forced to be more independent and take more charge of their own learning. They have to be more independent learners.
Right.
Also, the use of the internet has become critical. Before, maybe a lot of parents, particularly the teachers, I should say, and also parents, they would have known very little bit about maneuvering internet and online classes and social platforms. But now they have to learn all of these things, the online classes, the Google Classroom, this one in particular that you're now having your program on. Before, pre-pandemic, I'm sure this kind of programming wasn't, it probably was happening, but it's not happening as much.
More prevalent now.
And so the world is it has become smaller. We have more access to more information. And so in that light, that is a benefit of homeschooling, because if you want to research on something, the University of Google, and learning to use the internet, particularly since that is the direction that the world is going, and learning how to maneuver both where security is concerned on the online and using the platforms, that is also a massive benefit. If persons are being forced, if you did not like using computer before, you don't have a choice. You have to learn. You have to bend your mind, as they would say, to bend your mind to educate yourself where that is concerned. So
I see Antoinette smile when you talk about teachers now having to learn the whole concept of technology and so on. Antoinette, what do you have to say about that? I think he has a good point there. We're not hearing you, Antoinette.
Sorry about that. Yeah, that is a very good point, because sometimes we get so comfortable in the system. But I can tell you, COVID has forced us to get out of our comfort zone, both as teachers and as parents. And so as I just want to add to the benefits of homeschooling is that some parents has no choice but to learn with their children. And COVID has forced many of us to do that. And also, as I want to add to, he spoke about computer literacy. Some parents, you have never become interested in sitting in front of a device, but parents, and I know I want to speak for many Jamaican parents. I know there are Jamaican parents who are so driven. But Jamaican parents are so driven when it comes to education. So you want, and you will find that even as kids, when we're growing up, our parents would tell us, "Oh, I want you to be better than I am," right? Yeah. So they want their kids to do better than them. So whatever it's going to take for them, for their child to achieve, they are going to do it. So computer literacy I find that is a very big plus, right? Yeah. There's some parents who have become computer literate. These learning platforms, some parents probably have never heard about, and probably the first time in their life, what is Google Classroom? Like, we have a platform here, Bright Space, that we use. What is Bright Space, right? Yeah. You get comfortable, and you never want to think about or even become interested in finding out what those are. But these are the platforms that your children are learning on. You have to, some of the kids are not able to maneuver it themselves. You are the one who have to maneuver it for them. So,
you know something, Antoinette, I'd like to ask you this though, as a teacher, right? Yeah, you're in Canada, you're a Jamaican, you have taught in Jamaica for many years, and now in Canada teaching. But as a teacher, the challenge that you have, or the challenge that you have as a teacher, not a parent now, a teacher. Tell me about some of those.
Okay, so the biggest one I will tell you is that maybe effort. So effort or the lack of thereof. Yeah. Right? So some students, as I told you what my friend daughter said, I'm in my house, right? So some students, that effort that they would put out at school, some students don't want to put out that effort at home. And there are some students who, okay, I can do whatever I want at school. I don't have to put out that effort. But when it comes to parents, don't mess around. So you find some students putting out greater effort at home now than they used to be at school. And then you find some students putting out less effort because I'm in my home, I'm in the comfort of my home, so I can do whatever I want. So you have the effort or the lack of thereof, right? Yeah. But one of the biggest challenge can be, and I find some teachers tell me that, is the discipline. Some students, they come on, they would never turn on. You constantly tell them, turn on your camera, turn on your camera. Turn on your camera. And some students talk out of turn, right?
But so, I'm at home, miss. I'm at home. I cannot go to the dean. You can't send me to the principal. So?
Right. So then so that becomes a big challenge. Yeah, and so you find that you have to be muting students too, right? So in the middle of a conversation, you're actually muting students. So I think the biggest challenge is discipline, getting some students to do their work, because they will tell you, I have completed my work, but when you check, there's no work, or the work comes back not touched. So, and this is it. And even as a parent, I have checked in with my son. Mom, the work is complete. But when you go in, the work is half done. And the teacher will call you, and the teacher will email you and said, this work is not complete. So because they're in the comfort of their home, as I said, I'm free to do what I want to do. This is my house. This is my home. I don't have to complete all the work. I don't have to do it when they say I have to do it. So it becomes discipline is one of the biggest challenge, getting students to finish their work. And another thing I've spoken to, I find that parents who are parents of boys, the game. A parent told me that the child mute the teacher. Mute the teacher and had the game in his lap under the table, played. Right? Another parent told me that, unfortunately, this was a grade 8 student. So he was home, but said the parents had to work. So what he does, he gets up, he logs on to the class, and he is on his game all day. He's away from in front of the device. So the teacher is seeing him there online, but he's not there. So this becomes a big challenges for parents. Another parent told me that, when the report comes, my child was absent from class, say for example 30 days.
Yeah.
My child was absent 26 days. So
not in front of the computer.
No.
You know, a client said to me that her daughter, she's actually she has a home office, right? And her daughter has been homeschooled. And her daughter would be jogging on her clothes. Hey, mommy, help me with this, right? And she said, hey, I'm at work. And mommy would say, ask the teacher. Daughter said, no, I don't want to ask the teacher. And she would just get up and just go into her room and slam the door. Right, Joseph? So these are some of the things.
That happens.
Right, and so that do happen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so because another thing, one day, because my son and I, we have different lunch times.
Okay.
So I had my lunchtime and I logged on back to my class, and our lunchtime would cross a little bit. So I said, make sure you log back on 5 minutes before. So he should log back on 12:15. I just decided to let me hop out of my class. Let me tell my students that I have to check on my son.
Yeah.
12:20. He was still in front of the television, comfortable, watching TV. And his class had started already. So that's
Joseph, as a father, right? Not that much fathers. Last week on the show, we talked about fathers being absent from the homeschool system. I know you are a very dedicated father, right? Perhaps not many of those you'll find around the world, right? What are your involvements as it relates to homeschooling your children? How do you get involved?
Well, pretty much everything. There with them in class, homework. I've had to develop some skills I didn't know I could have developed. At particularly at the kindergarten level, you have to help them to make these these art and craft stuff. I hate that. I was never good at it, but I find myself doing that kind of thing. All fun. So that involved, as I would have said earlier, there are times when most of it has fallen on my way because a lot of times I have to go out to work. I really have to go in the field based on my job, but there are other times, and once I'm there, it is hands-on. I literally put down my work and pick up the work at night. So that they can be in class. But I know that particularly one of them, you have to be there. You leave her alone, and she will turn off the camera. She will say, "I soon come." She will use bathroom 24 times a day. She will be when she will be in front of the laptop or the tablet. Camera is off. Mic is muted, and she's coloring or doing something else underneath the table, go outside for stuff, you name it, So
you and I was a dean of discipline. You were a dean of discipline as well. It's a different challenge that we are having now in terms of discipline.
Totally different.
Right?
Totally different. Yeah. Things have it different. And one thing Anthony had mentioned that I want to also jump on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Once classes are over, it's not done. It continues, because there's the homework. And there's ensuring, no, it's not like, at the office, your daughter have something to do, you can go to the office and print, I hope nobody listening to me. But here it's kind of different. And because it's so much work, you have to print that whole heap of stuff. And following online. So whereas before you have the textbooks. They're using textbooks less now. So following online is a little bit more difficult. So you have to be more involved. And for me, I love that. It is fulfilling.
Yeah.
It's not something that I find challenging. It's not something that I'm least bit perturbed. It's
Right.
just finding the right balance, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because as a father, this is what I'm supposed to do. So it's not a,
But
you know.
you are not. You are still a referee, right? I mean, I know the pandemic.
No. Pre-pandemic, I had stopped. I'm involved at a different level. I'm not as active as I used to be at all. So I have my last game as a referee was probably 2 years ago.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so this homeschool thing kind of give you a sort of a chill spot away from work, you know, to get involved in something new.
Yes, in a sense. I mean, I mean, other activities, but yes, in a sense. I would have been involved in their school life regardless when they come from work.
Yeah, I know
When they come from school, pre-pandemic, that is homework and go to PTA meetings and that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but tell me though, let us move into that. Stay with me a bit, Joseph, again. This blended situation. I know we're having that now, right?
Well, right now, no. It is everything is totally online. It's total no schools are being allowed to have to host classes.
Would you support that after COVID? Blended approach to learning? Yeah.
Most definitely. I would really defer to the principals and what is happening on the ground, because you would know that each school has a different reality. They have to do that analysis as to how many students have access to internet, the quality of access to internet.
Yeah.
How many students actually learn better online, offline, face to face. You know, students who we deliver material to and give them the guided learning, but through the learning kit, is it useful? Is it not useful? So I would want to hear from each school as to what works for them before I would want to make any kind of decision. But the government, has a Ministry of Education, has indicated to pretty much the entire nation that it is really, they're open to all types of teaching, all types, but it is really based on the reality of the school, and each school is unique and totally different.
Oh yes.
Say one size fit all, you know, would be extremely misguided.
Right. Antoinette, blended
post-COVID.
Yeah.
I can see it's happening post-COVID, but then, as Joseph said, there's no one size fits all in this education system, because as he was speaking about his daughter, who will get up, do her own thing, and I have students who are like that. My son too is a hands-on person, right? Who's a hands-on student, and even my niece was sharing that she has her son in Jamaica in a private school, and she said when he was in the classroom, she find that he's doing a lot better now learning online. So he doesn't want to go back into the school. He prefers to continue learning online. But it will be something to consider.
Yeah.
But it will depend on the student, because some students learn way better in the classroom. Some students learn better one-to-one, being by themselves, learning one-to-one, and then not being able to deal with the noise around them and the socializing with other students. Some of the students are introverts, right? So some students will benefit immensely from that, while some students will fall through the cracks badly from this. Right. So it will be dependent on each child, how each child learns, and what is best for each child.
Right, that sounds good. This is Canute Exploration. You're listening to Canute White, and I'm sitting in with Antoinette, who is in Canada. She's a Jamaican, a teacher, and also Joseph, who is in Kingston, Jamaica. Canute Exploration, that's what we do, explore topics. Let's look at a number of advices that you'd like to give parents, teachers, and then the children themselves. But let us start first with parents. Joseph.
Yes.
Advice to parents.
Advice to parents. Breathe. Take some very deep breaths. Set your daily routine before you start the day, because and balance. Finding the right balance. You cannot get everything done. Plan the day. Accept that this is how it is, instead of cussing and saying, Lord God, me can't, that only makes it worse, because that really doesn't solve any problems. Secondly, there are avenues to get help. Whether you go through the structured avenues of the school or the Ministry of Education, you can also use your own personal network of the family network, church network. Get help, seek advice. And also, more now than ever before, parental involvement is easier as a parent. There are times when you wonder what is happening at school, if the teacher is a good teacher, the workload, you're not involved in your child's education. No, more than ever before, this is an opportunity to get involved in your child's education. And anybody will tell you that the child who does well in school has a sound support from home. And so that it would be my challenge to parents, my advice to parents.
Okay.
Log on, get advice, and learn the platforms. Learn them. Whether it is at school, your children know the platform sometimes better than you. And this is an interesting time, because a lot of teachers, and particularly those who are probably advanced in age, like maybe me, I don't know, but a lot of students, they are more comfortable with the platform than the very teachers.
Yeah.
So that exchange, dynamic is very different than inside the classroom, because the power dynamics has now been more. It is now more balanced, because students have a little bit more power than they did before online. So I would advise parents to get comfortable, get comfortable with the whole social media, with online, the whole internet. Get to learn it. Take your time, get to learn it, and work with your children. Work with your children.
Right. Right. We are going to go into advice for parents, for teachers, and then children before we wrap up. But let me go to Antoinette with this advice for parents.
Yes. As I want to add to what Joseph I want to echo what Joseph said. Find the balance. Find the balance. And I would add to that to say, parents, look after yourself. Look after yourself, because in order for you to look after your children, you need to look after yourself first. So look after yourself. Whatever it takes to look after you, so you are able to look after your children. Don't show your frustration. Sometimes these platforms, it's foreign to us. We don't know what is going on. The work that the teacher is teaching, or the work that the teacher sent, it's foreign to us. We don't know what is happening. We don't know. We don't have a clue to this. Don't show your child that you are frustrated. You don't want that, because in you showing your frustration will allow your child to become frustrated too. So don't show your frustration. Try your best not to. Set up a schedule, and Joseph mentioned that. Set up a schedule. Maybe adapt the school schedule to your home schedule, where the child gets up and have breakfast, or gets a shower, have breakfast. Set up a schedule. Set up a schedule for yourself. Set up a schedule for your child, because it will wear you out. It will wear you out. Another advice I would like to give to parents is set up a specific workstation for your child or your children. So the child they get very comfortable in the home, but if you have this, especially get them out of their rooms, get them out of their beds, if you're able to do that, right? Get them out of the room situation. Because if they are learning from in the room, they will be in the mindset that, okay, I could go back to sleep at any time. So if you're in an environment where you're able to set up a specific work area, workstation for your child or children, do that. So they get up, they get into this mindset that this is where I'm going to school. This is the area where I am going to be learning from.
Yeah.
So do that. Another thing, and Joseph said, mentioned this too, and I want to echo this. It can't be too much for parents to hear. Seek help. Reach out for community support. Reach out to community programs. Get help from, talk to other parents. If you have to email your child teacher, call your child teacher, whatever it is. Seek help. Don't be too scared. Don't be too shy. Seek help. It is there for you. It is there for you to receive. Seek support. Support can't be too much. We need to ask for support, and it is there. So have a support system. And I would say to have this maybe one or two person, where sometimes when you get so down, when it seems like I can't do this anymore, I can't go on anymore, have this one or two person that you can call to talk with. That is very important. So you know that this is my support system. So other than a big support system, the school, the community, the extended family, have a support system. Maybe somewhere else or someone else from inside the home. You call this person. This is a shoulder to lean on. It is very important, because you can't do it all by yourself.
Right, definitely.
It will wear you out.
Definitely. Joseph, how about advice to teachers and principal?
Patience. Patience with yourself first and foremost, because everything has changed. How you learn, how students teach, how lessons are delivered, how you deliver your lesson plans, everything has changed. The other day, I'll give an example. My daughter had an assignment due, and when she told me what she was going to do and the content, and I was quite impressed. But her problem was getting it online. This is a dram piece, and it entailed having internet, being able to use the internet at a particular level, which she wasn't at yet. So that would have affected her grade. And so I think that, and I had a discussion with some of our teachers, that the grade is not just about the content, but also about how comfortable you are with using the internet. And as a teacher, you have to be aware of that. No more than before is getting to know your students. It was more difficult before, but now you have to develop that relationship, one-on-one relationship with your students, one-on-one relationship with your parents. It is even more difficult now than before, but it is even more critical now than before.
Yeah.
Right? And so that is one advice. Again, get help. There are persons within our system who are experts. They may not have the paperwork to prove it, but they are experts. They're quite knowledgeable on internet and using the internet and all internet platforms and the various types of systems where schooling is concerned, learning platforms.
Yeah.
Reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody. Principals have a network. Teachers have a network. Use those networks, right? And particularly within your subject area, there are best practices of delivering algebra, for example. There are best practices of delivering a particular literature class on a particular topic. Likewise, geography, history, you name it. There are best practices. And using the platforms and being knowledgeable on how to use the platform is critical. And so that is what I would advise with teachers. And one teacher, I'm not in the classroom anymore, but one teacher had indicated to me that once you have learned the platform, the next thing after that is pretty much acquiring the information and sharing it with students. Putting it in a particular way. So you instead of sending them a 5-pager, you send them a 1-pager with some bullets and point them to different pages. I mean, some teachers would have done it before, but they have some very simple things that can make climbing the mountain seem like a hill rather than a mountain.
Yeah.
And it is getting that done right across the board. Principals, I wouldn't want to be a principal. No, Canute, you would have known that.
Yeah.
One of my ambitions was to become a principal, and I'm glad I covered that before, but I really would not want to be a principal. No, hats off to all principals in every crevice in this on this planet right now. My advice to principals again is your team, the team that you have around you is critical, and communication, constant communication with all your network. I mean, that happened before, and that was critical before, but no more than before. Having that team that you can trust and work with, that is well trained, is very, very critical. Check in with your staff, because teachers are having it difficult. As Antoinette mentioned regarding parents, it is the same thing for teachers, particularly teachers who are also parents, parents of younger students as well, parents of children who are more mature and balanced, are them set, they're fine,
Right. Mm-hmm.
But of students who are less balanced, who are more in need of attention, it poses other types of challenges. So for the teachers, for the principals, they must be aware of that and point teachers in the direction of help, of counseling, make it easy for them, developing that network. Again, relationships cannot be too much, right? So that is where I would go. I mean, there is so much more I could say.
Yeah, I know, right? Sounds good. Antoinette, you're a teacher. What advice would you give to you and to the other teachers?
What more to say? I think Joseph covered it all. Right? Yeah, trust me.
I see you taking notes too, right?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Of course, you covered it all. But just to echo some of what he says, check in with your student. First of all, my big thing is look up, and I will say that for parents and as teachers. And principals, look after yourself. This is a difficult time for everyone involved: students, parents, teachers, principal. So look after yourself. It is very important to do that. Look after yourself. Check in with your students. Check in with your students. It is very important for us as teachers to check in with our students. Some of them are having difficult times and are having challenges. So very important to check in with them, find out what is happening. Reach out to colleagues and support staff. The support is there, and it's not only for me here in Canada. I know in Jamaica, it's easy for us to reach out to our colleagues, and they will be there to assist us. Follow up with parents. Build, if you didn't have a relationship with your students' parents, it's a time now for it. You have to build a relationship with your parents. Relationship, very important. Because if in those cases where you find kids are not logging on, you want to find out from the parents what is happening. How can you help? If you're able to extend yourself a little more, then very good. One other important thing I would also add is that if you're able to, what I have done, I have added parents to my virtual learning platform. So all my students, I've added one or sometimes both parents to my learning platform, so that when the child gets a notification, the parents get the notification too. So the parents are able to see all the work that is, so it goes to the parents' email as well. So parents are able to see all the work that is assigned to to the child. So because some children will tell you, no, there's no work today, right? So the parents are able to see that. So for teachers who are able to add parents to their virtual learning platform, do so, because that will help to alleviate your problem. So you're not struggling with them getting information from the child. Well, you didn't do the work. And then the child said, I didn't see the work. There was no work. Then parents are there to support you. And so parents, and then in that case, the parents know that, because in some cases, some students feel like you're picking on them all the time. So parents will know that, no, teacher's not picking on my child. My child didn't submit the work. My child didn't do the work, and the work was there.
How about the principal? Oh, you have more for teachers, right?
I'm for teachers. All of that was for teachers as well. Add parents to their learning platform.
Right. So how you know advise principals, the boss. What would you say to them?
Well, as Joseph said, someone asked me, are you interested in becoming a vice principal? I said, me? No, I'm very much comfortable.
I have been teaching for a long time, I know.
and of course, earlier on, I had that as a goal. I wanted to become a vice principal. But with what is happening now, it's I'm telling you, I feel it. I try to work very close with my principal, because I do, my principal and vice principal, I do feel it for them. It's a struggle, because what happens too, you have classes where teachers are still experiencing indiscipline with some students on the virtual platform. And it takes the principal or the vice principal to go into those virtual classroom, because, most time kids listen to principal and vice principal more, right?
I know. Mm-hmm.
So it now takes the principal or the vice principal to go into those learning platform to, help to alleviate those indiscipline. That's hard. Right. When you have a school with 25 different classes, the principal can't go into all those classrooms. So that's a challenge for the principal. Principals, you have to have a staff that you are able to depend on. That now is your teaching staff, but that's your support system too. So you have to be able to trust your staff that they are carrying out the duties. When you're in the school, a principal can turn up at your classroom and just but with the learning platform, and then to be able to in the classroom, you are out there trying to get devices out to all the students. It's hard. And for now, I just want to mention, for us in the brick and mortar, we're out there in the classroom, no?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. What I find, if there's a COVID, if there's a case in a class, the class is shut down, not the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the principal has to notify the parents. You have to notify all parents that there's a case in the school. The students in that class, the student and the teacher goes home. If a student in that class has sibling, all the students in that class who have sibling in the school, all the siblings of students in that class have to stay home. No, the principal has to get that list, has to get a list of all the students in that class and a list of all the siblings of those students. That's no easy task. Sometimes principals are at school until 8 o'clock just to notify parents that your child is not supposed to turn up tomorrow because your child is a contact case of a contact case.
Hats off to those principals. Canute
Trust me.
You're listening to Canute White. I'm sitting in with Antoinette from Canada. She's a Jamaican. And Joseph from Jamaica. Antoinette is a teacher. Joseph is in the education system still, right? Tell me though, how principals monitor teachers? It's something I just thrown out there in one sentence. Just answer me, both of you. Or they actually monitor teachers,
let me take that first. You are, for us, you're expected to log on. You're expected to be at school 15 minutes prior to your teaching time, right? To your work time. Yeah. You're expected to do the same online, and they are trusting you to do what you always do. If you're in the brick and mortar, you turn up for school at your time. You're following your schedule and you're doing what you're supposed to do in the brick and mortar. So online, they're trusting you that you're doing the same because it's hard. It's hard for them to monitor all the virtual.
Joseph, that was trust. What about Jamaica?
It's a big part. It's a massive part of it now. Principals are more than before have to leave it to teachers. Now, there are some schools that have their structures, and because everything is online, you know when you log on. The system knows when you log on. The system knows when you log off. Yeah. The system knows everything that you do with the students. Yeah. And so principals have that in line, and of course the different departments, the grade coordinators, the heads of departments, and the vice principals and the dean of discipline. Those are persons who help the principal to monitor and give report at at the varying levels. So that is pretty much how, but
Yeah.
it really boils down to the teacher. I've heard horror stories of a teacher being online, quote unquote, online, and supposedly teaching his class, but
Okay, yeah.
the students, he's not, him only online. You only see him name, camera
Oh,
off, mic off, and you hear him run a taxi, So,
for those of you who don't understand, because I know you're listening from Spain, Ireland, UK, all over the place. I know. I run a taxi.
Let me rephrase then. Should I put it in my learned English? So there are teachers who appear to be online. However, they are engaged in other activities. For example, being involved in Uber or running a cab or a taxi service.
Right.
Instead of delivering a lesson as they should be delivering. So
Right.
the job is even monitoring teachers is even more difficult than before from the principal's perspective. But at the same time, everything's electrical. Everything is semi-electrical. Everything's online, is virtual. So you can see when somebody has signed off. You can see the lesson that's being delivered and that kind of thing. And of course, you get reports from students.
That might not be 100% effective because, as you said, there was somebody moonlighting, doing something else, right? While his name is online. And there are some students who are like that too. Teachers, you can say that. And I mean, we who had done online education through the system. We had those challenges as well, right? Where we just, okay, fine, my name is there, but I'm doing something else, right? Advice to children, last but not least. What would you tell children at this point? Antoinette, let me move to you. Joseph, let me move to Antoinette first. Advice to children. That include your son.
Whoa. Stay on top of your work. Don't cheat the system. Right? Pardon?
What that means, don't cheat the system.
Don't appear to be online and you're there doing something else.
Okay.
And as I said before, I have spoken to especially parents of boys. Boys they log on, and the game is a big thing now. And I find that a lot of parents have given to the games now more than ever because the children are not going anywhere. So they allow them to play the game and the children find satisfaction into it. And they are using the games when they should be online, they should be in class. So don't cheat yourselves. When I don't cheat the system, don't cheat yourself. Don't appear to be online. Don't just log on online and you're not there. Because in the end, it will affect you. Because right now, I do think that, because as I said, there's no one size fits all. So I think in the long run, this is going to affect some students, in terms of education. There are some students who are going to fall through the cracks.
Antoinette, I'd like finish your sentence first.
So yes, so my advice to children is be on top of your work, complete your work in the scheduled time. Get support from parents, get support from teachers. If you don't understand the concept, don't log off until and let allow your teacher to think that it's okay. Right. Let your teacher know that you don't understand and get help.
I'm gonna show a clip, right? Mm-hmm. And as a child, talk about it, and then when I have Joseph give advice, he will talk about it as well.
I think online class is more harder than to be in school.
You heard that, right?
Yes, and I have heard that, and I've heard that from parents in Jamaica, that their child is complaining that when I am in school, I don't get all this work, but now I'm online, and I think as a teacher, I think I'm a little bit guilty of that.
Yeah.
And I think I have draw back a bit, because at first I think I was sending work to keep the students I was saying I'm keeping the students occupied because when we just started out last year, March, we weren't expected to be providing synchronous learning, to be live, to be teaching live all day. But when we started back out in September, it changed. Like we were only expected to provide work for the
Synchronous
students.
learning, what's that?
Yes, and to log on, right? Where you're setting up the work online for the students, and the students will just access the work. But now you're providing synchronous learning for the entire day, right?
Okay.
So I was guilty of that, where I was uploading a lot of work for the students because I was looking at it where the child you're not teaching live, and so you are setting work to keep the students occupied. So you're saying, okay, if the child was in school, the child would be occupied for 6 hours out of the 7 hours because they do have their break and lunchtime.
Right.
So you're sending enough that amount of work to keep the child occupied for 6 hours. But is it fair to the child? Because are they able to manage all of this? Because we have to think about too the child's mental health, not being in school. This is affecting too. So this amount of work becomes a burden. It becomes burdensome on the child. So I do believe that the children do get a lot more work, but I've slowed down on that.
Yeah,
I was online for a month when we returned from after Christmas break, and I provide synchron, and when I'm in brick and mortar, I give my students homework every day. When I was teaching online, I don't provide homework every day, and they would ask, "What happened, Miss Green? What happened to the homework?" I'm like, complete, because sometimes we don't get to complete whatever we're doing during this. So I would say complete that, and then I'd say, you know what, I don't want you in front of the screen for too long, so I had draw back on providing a lot.
Quickly, before I move to Joseph, how do you advise her? She's saying it's hard. What would you say to her based on the fact that she said, hey, this is harder than I expected?
Pace yourself. Pace herself. Don't try to complete it all at once. So do some half-hour slots. And this is the advice I had given to my students. Complete the work in half an hour slots. Take a break. Because if it's especially a case where you're completing the work and then you're submitting it, like how Joseph said, you have where you go in, because I know my nephew in Jamaica, it's the same thing. He completes the work for the week, and at the end of the week, his mother or his dad takes it into the teacher to be marked. So if it's a case like that, don't sit in front of, don't try to complete, pace yourself. Do it in half an hour slots, right? Because most kids, after half an hour, they are distracted. They are not following that much, right? They're not much focused. So half an hour slot, give yourself break, come back, right? Come back again, do some more, take a break, and ask for help. Ask for help. Talk to your teacher and ask for help.
Okay, I'm gonna show it.
I think online class is more harder than to be in school.
Hey, Joseph, you heard. What advice you have for her, and what advice you have for other
I did not hear clearly. What did she say?
She's saying it's odd. It's odd.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yes, I can understand. It varies according to the child. I can understand. It's totally different. The advice I would give to children, to students, would be, I totally agree with Anthony what I've said. Pace yourself and get help. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And take your time to go online and learn the platforms and learn how to learn.
Yeah,
you know,
I know how to learn. I like that.
Identify your own weaknesses and your own strengths, and if you know that you learn better with the teacher there, then take advantage of when the teacher is there.
Yeah,
you know, if you know you learn better reading on your own, then you know you have to do the background reading before class starts. You know, and then when you do have the follow up. You know. But as I said, number one is don't put too much pressure on yourself, particularly during this pandemic when there is so much pressure. Otherwise, it's really counterproductive to be putting much pressure on yourself. And so reach out. Because of this pandemic, the education system would be aware that students are the various persons within the education system need more support than before. And so a lot of schools have put things in place to support students.
Right.
And I will speak to the students to reach out to take advantage of those systems so that they can get that help. I'm not just talking where support on a psychosocial level, but also financially and academically. Particularly academically, we know online there's YouTube and Google works wonders. You punch in the word and you get your help, right?
Yeah.
And you can slow it down. My battery's gonna die. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So
all right. That's all right.
Yeah. So if you see me log off, then
yeah, we were about to finish still, so you can finish your sentence. We're about to finish with the segment with
So that would be my advice. To be patient with yourself first and foremost, and realize that being online, give yourself some time, spread out the day, as Antoinette would have said. Don't try everything in 1 hour, half hour. You learn more, you learn better. You're not as stressed. I don't know who learns. I don't know which student or which child learns better under high. When them stress out, relax, half an hour, take a little break. Totally agree with what Antoinette would have said.
We had all been in the classroom, so we know, right?
Definitely. All right. So that is my last piece.
Fine, right?
It was an honor. It was Antoinette. Pleasure. No respect. No
Pleasure, Joseph.
I just want to thank you, Joseph and Antoinette, for coming. You guys have done well. And nice to have you. Right? Thank you.
All right. Blessings.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Walk good, Antoinette.
Walk good, Joseph. All the best to you and family and those girls.
All right. You should come for me. Blessings, Canute.
Blessings. Yes, that was Antoinette and Joseph. Antoinette out of Canada, Joseph in Kingston, Jamaica. It was a very interesting discussion that we have had. And you have heard it all, parents. You have heard it, teachers and the principals, the advice that they actually give to you guys. And I'm sure that they're taking advice as well from each other. Very interesting. So we were very well informed. Next show and Canute's Exploration, we'll be talking about the change faced of leadership during the COVID-19 pandemic. How has the pandemic changed human resource in the workplace, the human resource leadership system in the workplace? What will HR practices look like post-COVID-19? Or will the pandemic change the future of recruiting and selection? Canute Exploration, we'll explore that on our next episode, April 11th, same time, 5 p.m. ET. Look, we endorsed Bluehost for this episode. If you're watching from YouTube, click on the link and let Bluehost do your website. This was Canute Exploration. Watch on YouTube and listen on your favorite podcast platform. Canute Exploration goes live on YouTube every Sunday at 5 p.m. from its virtual studio out of Miramar, Florida. Comment, rate, subscribe. That's a must. Follow us on Instagram, Canute Exploration, and Facebook, Canute Exploration. Share with a friend. Take care and goodbye.